All right, good morning. I'm just going to go live for a hot second. I think I'm going to come off camera. Hey, look at me. Oh, the hair needs work. Okay, let me come off camera. All right, so we need to talk about what's happening here. So, unless you're living under a rock, you know that America's crashing out over Tesla. I just want to say welcome to my channel, by the way. If you're new here, I am the Black Opinionated Woman, also known as a Bo. I'm just getting right on into it. Um, so, yeah, this is what's going on. So, let me just say this. I kind of saw some of this going to happen. Now, I didn't know this was going to happen to this degree, but I figured, okay, people are not going to want to purchase Tesla. So back in October, I didn't have a whole lot of Tesla stock anyway, at least not individual stock. I sold mine in October. I was like, I'm not dealing with this, dude. It was quiet. I didn't make any stink over it. It was just an individual decision of mine. I was like, you know what? I'm not supporting this. The shenanigans that's happening. But yeah, now granted, I do own other investments that that are that have Tesla bundled in it, so I can't control how they bundle those stocks. But the individual stocks I sold. But I never said anything. I just did my quiet, minding my business. Now, if you've been on my channel before, like a year or so ago, maybe 3 years ago, I can't remember. I actually came on camera. I was like, look, I'm not buying an EV vehicle right now. There's still some things that I don't know enough about how these batteries are going to be managed at the 10-year mark, etc. So I chose to, keep with the kind of cars that I have now. I talked about, gosh, I gotta see if I can find those videos too. They're somewhere buried deep. I talked about not just the batteries, but just kind of like, if I remember correctly, when you have these vehicles, and if you get into an accident or whatever, it's like you have to replace the whole thing, really, because it's not like they can be fixed, right? Like these batteries are quite expensive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that was quite a bit back, okay? Um, Now with all of this post-election stuff going on, the level of crash out from not just the American public, it's been on a worldwide stage. This is incredible. I mean, people are literally taking the stock. I'm like, I just saw something on TikTok where people set fire to the Tesla stations. I was like, oh my gosh. You know, I'm not here for arson, but I mean, people are literally making a message or sending a message. Factories are burning down. People are embarrassed to drive their Teslas. Like, I've seen multiple times now on TikTok where people have rebranded their vehicle and they're just basically taking the names of other brands. They'll be like, Toyota. I'm like, so that's literally not a Toyota. It's a Cybertruck. And I never understood the whole Cybertruck thing. I thought it was ugly, but I just felt like, okay, that's they're just not marketing to someone like me. But in seeing all of this, I must admit, I was thinking, all right, that's just some fringe element. It's not everybody, right? Now, granted, I don't own a Tesla. I had no intentions of purchasing a Tesla anytime soon. Okay. If you recall back, I think it was last year, I kind of got a little bit of hee-haw because I said, look, right now I'm going to drive my gas guzzler because I like pushing this button and it's starting up in the winter. Last year, I remember people were like, stuck with their vehicles. They didn't get much distance out of it because the batteries could not hold a charge when it was too cold. So, what you say, CBR kids? So you traded your Tesla model? Oh, you need to stop. I've never had one. See, now you trying to start something. No, I've never had a Tesla. Look, y'all know I don't like to spend all this extra money unless I need to. I got 500 kids. So, but anyway, so last year, I believe I had maybe two videos. I talked about like, hey, it doesn't pay to have an EV vehicle right now. The technology needs to, the infrastructure needs to catch up. There needs to be more technology on, how can we maintain a charge? We need more like charging stations, well, the infrastructure, of course, and like how are we going to handle these batteries and the landfills and that type of thing. So I talked about that last year. I don't know where that video is. You'll have to go search deep in the recesses of this channel. Okay. So anyway, I used to think, oh no, all of these people who are like crashing out over Tesla, like these people, they're special and they're head cases, and it's in these far, far away off lands. Well, let me tell you, I showed up to work. And let me tell you, I saw in the parking lot, someone was like, I bought this before I knew how awful a guy he really is, or something to that effect. People are putting stuff on their vehicles because I guess it's almost like a scarlet letter now. So Tesla is like the new scarlet letter. People don't want to be seen in the cars. People are literally putting stuff on their cars. I never anticipated Tesla being the new scarlet letter. It's like the public shame. So I don't know what you do now, if you're driving a Tesla. I mean, the way people are crashing out, the way I see it is if you're burning up the charging stations and burning down manufacturing buildings overseas and everything else, I don't know how people are going to continue to be able to drive these vehicles, because they're going to have to start laying off people because no one's buying the cars. The stock is crashing. It's plummeting. It's in a true free fall. You said not Hester Prynne. Yes, yes, CBR kid, Hester Prynne, honey. Yes, what do you know about that? Sound like you got a good education. Yes, that goes back into like the high school days. Scarlet Letter. No, but yes, I'm like the Tesla is like the new Scarlet Letter at this point. So my question for all the Tesla owners, or the people who what happens when you I'm having a brain dump when you like rent a car and you turn it back in, lease. Good lord. So for all the people who are leasing and owning these Teslas, you know that there's going to be a shortage in personnel, right? Because the way they get rid of people is so indiscriminate. Like they go in with a hatchet versus with a scalpel. So they're going to start firing off more people because the stock is plummeting. People aren't purchasing the vehicles, etc. You're not going to have people to work on these vehicles. What are you going to do? Are you going to just eat that cost? I'm sure there's some people who can't eat that cost, but are you going to just eat that cost? I'm curious. Because at this point, people are going to look at you sideways anyway. Like me personally, I'm like, buy what you want. I personally don't care. Do what you want to do. It's your money, it's your dollar. We're not going to always agree on the same things, the same values. But I don't see how you can continue to drive a Tesla and it be a winning situation for you. But yeah, the crash out is crazy. People are mad. And what was interesting about the whole Tesla situation, he said, I'm going to start my own electric car garage. You should. You should. Look, let me tell you something. There's going to be a lot of money now in this, because people are going to start. Well, they have already started changing over all of their like I guess they're trying to get rid of the sign that says Tesla on it, and they're rebranding their cars. People are literally marking their own cars up with like, I bought this before I knew how awful he was, and some other stuff. I did not think I would see that here in Maryland, and yet I'm seeing it. So I don't know. This is going to become really interesting, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to become a collegiate case study. This in business school, this will be a case study. They're going to look at something like this in business school, and they're going to talk about like how this company went to the top and then went to the bottom. This economic crash is going to be studied in schools for a long time. In political science, they're going to study, how we hold presidential elections. I mean, if you can objectively take a step outside of this situation, because the situation is just a tough, tough situation for the entire world, really. It's almost fascinating, not in a good way, like I'm so fascinated, but it's almost fascinating to see what is happening when you have like the U.S. aligning with what was formerly known as like the axis of evil. This is really going to be an interesting case study. Nevertheless, I'll say this. Tesla, everything that we thought or that we knew of Tesla, like it's almost, I don't even know how to say this because I'm not one of those business students, but like it's, it found a way to negatively rebrand itself. And it's almost as if like when you say Tesla, this name is going to be almost synonymous with like another like movement. People are going to they're going to start saying things like, man, you've been Tesla'd, or, um, like, don't let me pull a Tesla on you, or I don't know. I'm just making this up off of the top of my head. But when you see what's happening and how, like, the crash out is happening in real time, it is actually fascinating to be in living history and to be able to observe this. It's like a phenomena. Like a month or so back, just like how China single-handedly said, you know what, let me screw over the U.S. and they put out that deep sink or whatever, deep sea, and took out the ability for the U.S. to make money off of ChatGPT. It's really fascinating how when you watch how the world is really playing chess instead of checkers with the United States. It's really fascinating to see the American hubris into thinking that they were going to be able to bully people or to maintain a certain status or whatever. And right now, people are aligning to really isolate us at this point, right? Like the American hubris has definitely been challenged. It's been tested, and it's a fascinating I don't even know, case study on a lot of things from an economic standpoint, a business standpoint, a social standpoint. This is it's almost like a sub movement of a larger movement, for lack of a better way of expressing myself in a much more intelligent manner. But I find it to be interesting. You know what I haven't heard, but I also have not researched. Okay, so I want you to take this with a grain of salt. I haven't heard one word of us putting tariffs on Germany. I haven't heard of us having any sort of pushback from Germany. So all of those luxury cars, like the BMWs and the Mercedes and the such, your Audis or whatever, I haven't heard anything about that. What I do know is this Tesla crash out has become incredible. It's really like a, a movement unto itself, but like a sub, I don't know what to call it. I'm not someone who's going to be able to, um, I think, capture this in a historical context clearly right now. But it's really fascinating watching Americans and really the whole world crash out over this one brand, what this brand signifies. It's almost as if like this brand is the new signifier of, like, if you think about like what the Nazis were back in the day, and the world um, branded almost like the word Nazi to mean like you're evil. I mean, well, because what they did was bad to the Jews, but you know, it's like the world uses that name as a whole other term too. They created like a slogan or a term for it, right? And so when I think about like how they use the word Nazi, because obviously that was a group of people, but now we use it almost as a slur, as like a term for a bad guy or someone who wants to harm or hurt, like kill people, whatever, like that. We use that word Nazi differently now, and I can see us now using Tesla in that same vein. When you've got the world looking around, like Tesla signifies a lot, right? It signifies almost like the downfall of like worldwide democracy or something like that. When you look at how people are coming together in a very synergistic effect to say, you know what, we will no longer support you, Elon. I can't remember if it was Norway or Sweden. I believe it was Norway. Please forgive me, Scandinavia, if I got the wrong country. But I believe it was Norway. They said they will no longer support Tesla. They sold off all, I think it was 585 million. I forgot what it was. I should remember this because that's the second time I read that. They basically, purged themselves of all the Tesla stock. I was like, oh boy, oh boy. And so, when you look at like how on a worldwide stage, people are purging this idea of the Tesla. When you got Canada wanting to put all these extra tariffs on it, they're coming after it. And I'm like, the world is like, wait a second, we are stronger together than one entity, right? So it's almost like they came together. You know what else like, I think is going to happen too? You got the people who are coming together, like Russia and Africa and stuff like that. But I think the rest of the world is now going to band together too. They're excluding the Americans, right? They're banding together and creating their own union or coalition, or I don't know if I should say union, but I'm calling it a coalition because I don't know what the official term is. But you can see this happening now. They're like, we're going to fight, you know, people who are against our democratic goals and ideals. Like no one saw the dismantling of America. Like let me rephrase that. It's not that no one saw it coming because people spoke to it. I think no one thought it would be at this level. It would be like and how swift it would be. And I must raise my hand because I thought that this would be something that would be like a slow attrition, but this has been quite swift. Um, anyway, I just wanted to circle back and just say Tesla itself, the crash out over Tesla is really a fascinating case study. Um, it's a sad case study too. Um, Especially when you're dealing with someone like I just really think that that man is Elon Musk. People are calling him the muskrat, saying he's flying too close to the sun. So now he's known as the muskrat. They've been. I think that he is not well. I think he's definitely unwell, and it's interesting. Just watching how this all plays out. Now, generally, I like to protect myself from some of the media because I can't consume that kind of information all the time. But I do find the Tesla crash out for some reason to be oddly fascinating. And I must admit, there's a little bit of Schadenfreude in enjoying the downfall of Tesla. Okay. But I also don't want to see like innocent people affected in the process, but apparently he does not care about those who will be impacted by his decision making. But this is just really fascinating. This is fascinating. I never thought I would be able to witness this kind of economic collapse so close to home. Um, the rebranding of something to mean something else. I mean, I know we do it all the time, but to me, I'm liking it. I'm liking it, likening, I can't get the word out, but I'm likening it to the word Nazi. Nazi took on such a different, not like a whole other, like it's used as a slur, it's used as a term, it's used as something else now. And that's what's going to happen with Tesla. It is incredible. So anyway, for all of you Tesla people out there, I'm really curious as to what are you going to do with these vehicles now? Because I know so many people are rebranding them. They're it's almost as if they're apologizing. It's like the Tesla is being used. It's almost like an albatross or a scarlet letter because people are like thoroughly embarrassed that they have supported this brand. And I'm sure some of the people like they don't really have any other options in terms of getting rid of it or purchasing something else, whatever. But I'm curious as to what they're going to do. And yes, CBR Kid, you need to have a shop where you can work on Teslas because I think you're going to need it. America's going to need it. All right. this is probably when I should just get off. I should probably come back on and say goodbye to everybody. Hey. Hey, make sure you guys go ahead and support my channel and subscribe. Like, subscribe, send it to all your friends. I would love to hear your comments on this whole Tesla crash out. And are you fascinated? I mean, like, it's like one of those, it's like watching a dumpster fire. I am, for whatever reasons, this is fascinating. It's so fascinating. You know, anyway, let me know your thoughts. And if there's something that you would like me to talk about, let me know. All right. Bye.